I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're diving into an incredible true story of divine intervention with Brother Mac Whitnel and his amazing book, God Didn't Want Him to Die Today. This riveting narrative recounts a miraculous event that reaffirmed Brother Mac's faith, showcasing how a routine emergency call became a profound experience of God's presence. Join us right now as we explore the powerful moments that reveal the divine influence in our everyday lives. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Prime 7 Media for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his wonderful book. The links are below this interview. Brother Mac, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
Thank you very much, Mr. Crawford. It is, I just don't even have words to describe how much I'm excited about having the opportunity for you to be able to tell the world about my book.
Well, I'm excited to share your story because I think it'll affirm a lot of people's faith and make the doubters believe. And I think that's in part the message of your book. So this is years ago. You're working as a paramedic in Lexington, Kentucky. You get a routine call. A guy has suffered a heart attack down on one of the main streets in town. And tell us about that.
Yes, it was in 1990, and it was in month of July. And in Kentucky, during that period, it's usually very hot and very humid. The temperature that day was probably mid 90s, and the humidity was would take your breath. And we had from the initial start of our shift work, which is at 7 o'clock in the morning, by noontime we had already made 4 runs, and our shift we're on duty for 24 hours. And on a EMS unit, it's a very taxing time. And it's not too uncommon to make 15 to 20 runs during that 24-hour period. And it just really pulls you down. So Lexington is one of the leaders in the industry of EMS, and we run with three paramedics or two paramedics and one EMT on every truck. So what it does, it gives us two people in the back of the truck with the patient. Now, this particular day, this patient had a massive coronary, did a face plant on the highway, and it was within a quarter of a mile of St. Joseph Hospital. We picked this patient up. CPR had already been started by some nurses, and we picked this patient up and loaded the patient into our unit, our EMS unit. And I defibrillated the patient 3 times. And I had the defibrillator paddles on the chest, with one up here high on the right side and one down low, so the electricity can take that path through the abdomen and through the heart to try to restart it. And after the third shock, I had forgot to regel the paddles. And after the third shock, smoke came off his chest and it burned it. And I looked over at my other paramedic and I said, well, Jeff, I said, that won't hurt him because he's already dead. Well, we went ahead and treated him, took him into the hospital. They took over treatment, and subsequently, dispatch gave us another run from the hospital. We made that run, came back, and when we came back and walked into the emergency room, less than an hour, about 45 minutes from the time we had brought this gentleman in that period, he had come back to life and was sitting in a chair reading a newspaper.
Amazing. Just absolutely amazing. Such a turn of events, just like that.
just like that.
Yeah.
And within the next few minutes, when talking with the doctor, I went over and asked the emergency room physician what happened to our patient over there. And his statement was, God didn't want him to die today. And I said, what? And he said, without looking up at me, he said, God didn't want him to die today.
Mm.
And I said, okay. So I walked back over to him and I said, sir, I said, what did they tell you that happened? And he said, they said I had a little spell today.
Mm.
And I laughed and I said, yes, sir, you sure did. And I said, how do you feel? And he said, I feel better than I ever have. And I thought, oh, yes, sir. I
Yeah.
said, that's awesome. And then it came to me that when I defibrillated him, that I had burned his chest.
Hmm.
And I asked the gentleman if it would be okay if I could unbutton his shirt and look at his chest.
Hmm.
All the time, expecting the large trauma dressings
Right.
on his chest. I unbuttoned the shirt, pulled it back, and Mr. Crawford, the burns were gone.
Wow.
Gone.
Amazing. An absolute miracle. Really, an absolute miracle. Go from the clutches of death to being alive and feeling well to the burns disappearing. It really is faith affirming.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was 34 years ago. And that was the start of an affirmation that there is a God in this world who loves us, who cares for us,
Hmm.
and wants us to follow his son, Jesus Christ. And to for in the purpose of my book in writing it is that this book is really not about me. This book is for those out there that can have the same opportunity. You know, if they love the Lord and they say, Lord, here I am, protect me, then when they look back on their life, like I have on 60 years and many different experiences that happened in the book here, then you will see that I didn't orchestrate that. That is God orchestrated. And God is a God of the universe. He's the God of yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I want to share that with
Well, I
those.
think that's a beautiful story to share. Like I said, it's faith affirming. And let me ask you this. Do you feel that God was using you as an instrument that day when you were the one who was persevering and giving that man three shots? Some people might have stopped, but you went for that third blast
Yes.
on the defibrillator.
Well, I did. That falls under our protocol that we operate under. There's a medical board that oversees the EMS program in Lexington, Kentucky. And under the protocols, there are rules for each incident,
Right.
and we have to follow those. And at that time, we were allowed 3 defibrillations.
Right. Well, thank goodness, thank God, I should say, that you were allowed three defibrillations. But I have a feeling whether it was three or two, that man was going to survive because, as the other person told you, God did not want him today. And this is one of many stories in your book, correct?
That's correct. And one of the things I want to share with so many people out there is that this was a huge incident, huge for all that was watching it. But God's in the little details too. You know, I mean, it's the people who survive terrible car wrecks or just have things that just happen and people walk away from things like that. We hear about them, but we don't give God the credit.
Exactly. Well, we should say thank God when we say that, and we should mean it. And thank goodness and thank God you wrote this book, because I think it's a wonderful testimony to his work, his plan, his grace on earth. The name of the book is God Didn't Want Him to Die Today. It is a riveting book that recounts a miraculous event that reaffirmed Brother Mac's faith. It showcases how a routine emergency call became a profound experience of God's presence. And today we have explored the powerful moments that reveal the divine influence in our everyday lives. Brother Mac, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for your great work as in the ministry and your great work and as an member of the EMT as well.
Thank you so much, Mr. Crawford. I just can't share how much I really appreciate you bringing this book to light. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. I appreciate your time and your good work. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time until next time on Spotlight.